What is up, guys? What is up? Dexter Green, first in the house. What is up, sir? So, man, thank you. So, first and foremost, this is DDP of the Dallas Prospect. And, man, I don't know about you guys, but yesterday's college football action was, like, insane. Like, I couldn't even process what was happening at times within the Big 12. You get Oklahoma getting its head kicked in. Oklahoma State getting its head kicked in by Texas Tech. Oklahoma, despite being the 5th-rated team in the country, nearly dropping it at home to Army, having to go to overtime just to survive. And then you have Texas TCU. Hey, good for Texas. They flipped the script there, and they look like they might actually be getting traction now in the Tom Herman era, which is good for them. They've been gone a while. It's been a minute since Texas was really, really good. So they're building on something, and they look like they might be a force to be reckoned with within the Big 12 again here in the next couple of years. Hell, they could win 9-10 games this year, potentially. So a lot of stuff going on within the Big 12, and I'm going to break down some of it here today. This might be a little bit of a shorter show because I still got to squeeze in a Mavs fast break before I set up for the Cowboys-Seattle game at 3:25 kickoff. So in the meantime, I'm just going to start digging right into the stuff here. I want to begin first with, as you might be able to tell from the thumbnail here, my hand is going out of screen. There you go. Thumbnail over here. To me, the biggest statement within the Big 12 this week belongs to Texas. I was really impressed with what Tech did, but it wasn't the same caliber of opponent as we saw Texas have to overcome. Now, Texas hosts TCU, and this was a really tight game early on. Like, this was late in the third quarter? I think TCU led 16-10, something like that, with like a minute left in the third quarter. What's up, Adam Proctor? And what really impressed me then was Texas and their resolve. Of course, you get the picture there, the layout touchdown pass from Texas. Sam Ehlinger just throws a bullet, takes a big hit on the play as well, and the receiver lays out, makes a beautiful diving catch. That gives Texas the control. Then TCU throws a pick at their own 30 before the third quarter's even up. And Texas ran away with this late. Texas wins 31-16. Let's hit on some of those stats here. So for TCU, Robinson throws 2 picks, 1 touchdown, 17 of 29 for 197. They did use Collins as well, 3 for 9, 34 yards for him. Not a whole lot going on there in the passing department for TCU. So that shows something. I mean, TCU last week, think what you want about where Ohio State is rated at 4th in the country, but TCU went toe-to-toe with them, and I would say for most of that game outplayed them. They just gave away points and made silly mistakes that caused them to lose that big game. And whether this was a little bit of a letdown or if Texas really is just ready to make that much of a statement, I'm not entirely sure. But nevertheless, 31-16, that's a handy defeat there. The best rushing attack for TCU, Robinson, again, the quarterback, 9 for 57 with a long of 17. Did have a fumble, though. So nothing really was working well for the TCU offense that I can see. You had one receiver, 8 catches on 17 targets, 91 yards and a touchdown. You're not going to win a lot of games when you can't move the ball with some respect in that regard. And that'll get to another Big 12 game here momentarily. But for now, let's take a look at the Texas stats here. Sam Ehlinger goes 22 of 32 for 255, 2 touchdowns. He was sacked 3 times, but I like his bounce back because I thought even against USC last week he was pretty ho-hum, completing just a little over 50% of his passes. So to go 22 of 32 today, even if it was only about 8 a pop, it's not bad. I like the bounce back there from the kid, and he's got a little something to him. He ran it in from 5 yards when Texas completely flipped the game on its head and took, I think, an 8-point lead at that point. So really like what I saw there. For Texas, the rushing attack, pretty balanced. 15 carries for one guy, 8 for another. Ehlinger ran 11 times for 11 yards. That's not very impressive, but whatever. Watson is the high rush man for Texas, 15 for 58 and a touchdown. Receiving, we got Johnson here, and he goes 7 for 124. Humphrey goes 4 for 77. So really just those two carry all the load there. But this is a really big win for Texas. And when packed on the heels of their previous win against who they faced last week. USC. I already said it. For some reason, my mind reverted 2 weeks ago, and I was like, it wasn't Tulsa. But Texas has now won 3 in a row. Good for them. They are 3-1 heading into their showdown next week with Oklahoma, who is 4-0, barely. But this will be a good showdown, man. Texas looks like they're gaining traction and that they're going to be on their game. Not just getting up for the OU game, but like as a whole, they are coming together and they are starting to play some better football. There's still a little ways to go, but very good improvement from Texas with a couple of nice resume-building wins over USC, even if more so in name value than anything. And then TCU, who just last week went toe-to-toe, and you could argue should have beaten the number 4 team in the country, Ohio State. So lots of work on there for Texas, or excuse me, lot to build on for Texas. Next, I'll jump into the biggest game in the Big 12, just in terms of people turning their head and saying, wait, what? What's happening? Now, this Oklahoma goes to 4-0 on the season, but good God almighty, did they try so hard to give it away. Now, OU came into this game versus Army, hosting Army, a 31-point favorite. I think 31.5-point favorite at kickoff. Not only does Oklahoma, they do win, but the cracks that I pointed to showing in the kind of their armor last week versus Iowa State, holy hell did they get just burst open in this game. Now, they didn't give up big plays, but Army, man, they only run like 7 plays in their offense, and it's like a basically a flex wishbone style, or flex option, that's what I mean, not wishbone. A flex option style offense. They barely throw the ball at all, but they run the ball, run the ball, run the ball. In week 1, they lost to Duke, Army did, and I think Army had 168 rush yards in that game. Army went for over 300 on OU yesterday, and time of possession was just absurdly stacked in Army's favor. They had drives, they had a 19-play drive that ate up 10.5 minutes of the third quarter. Like, it's crazy. They played so efficiently and protected the ball. Now, they did have a couple turnovers late. Their last 2 drives end in turnovers, and that's ultimately, I think, why they fell short in their monumental upset. But OU had, Adam Proctor's hitting on it there in the comments. OU had 3 possessions in the second half. You had them open the second half, so they were up 21-14 at half. Army, I think, had so OU opened the ball in the second half, drive all the way down to the 15, and Kyler Murray, it wasn't a great pass, but I kind of think Hollywood Brown, who was held catchless, I think, yesterday, really weird. First time that's ever happened for him, and it snaps a 4-game streak of touchdown catches of at least 50 yards, which is kind of crazy too. But Kyler Murray throws a pick at the 15, the Army 15, and then Army just goes on like an insane 19-play, 10.5-minute drive. And by the time OU gets the ball back, it's like, okay, now not only is it 21-21, but now we're sitting here like, well, damn. We're practically into the fourth quarter here. What are we supposed to do? OU drives the length of the field, gets all the way down to the 1, and gets stuffed at the goal line on 4th and goal from the 1. And so what happens? Army drives then another long drive, gets all the way down to about the Oklahoma 30 before a tipped pass. So the quarterback, it's a crazy sequence, but man on OU saves the day for OU here. I'm getting there, Kenneth. Saves the day for OU. I think the quarterback for Army is hit as he's throwing, then the ball is then deflected, and it goes to, I think it's Kenneth Mann who catches it there, but makes the interception, ends what was, I mean, there at that point, you're talking like 2 minutes left in the game, and it looked like that was going to be it for OU because Army was just going to bleed every second out of the clock before at least kicking a field goal. And so OU drives then the length of the field, and it drove me crazy because they drove the length of the field in 2 minutes, and then from the Army 11, then all they do is, with a timeout, center the ball, and then bring out their kicker for a 33-yard field goal, which he misses. And as soon as I saw the kicker going out there for the pressure kick, I was like, I don't care if this is a 12-yarder. For some reason, I don't feel good about this. And then he shanks it off to the left. We go to overtime. 2 plays two OU plays in overtime. They get a touchdown. Because Army won the toss and elected to defer, my mind immediately said, okay, here's what's going to happen. OU's going to score a touchdown. They're going to get an extra point because they're going to play it conservative. And then Army's going to get a touchdown after like 12 plays from the 25. And then they're going to go for 2, and they're going to win the game. Because if you're Army in that case, that's absolutely what you do. You play for the win. There's no reason. The fact that you made it to overtime with Oklahoma, you being unranked, you being 2-1, and you already having lost to Duke on the season, there's no reason for you not to go for the win there. So that's what I assumed was going to happen, and I'm just sitting here just like, wow, I'm dumbfounded watching this game, trying to figure out how the hell OU is going to lose this game. And thankfully for OU, it doesn't come to that because they get the touchdown on the extra point. They then contain Army. Looks like Army tried to trick play a little bit, basically a jet sweep pass on... It wasn't jet sweep. It was an option pass. Anyway, they go for, I think, 2nd and 13 at that point, and the guy just misses the target. If he completes it, it's a big gain, if not a potential touchdown. Then they get contained on 3rd and 13. I think they get like 6 yards. Then we set up 4th and 7, and then quarterback hit again as he throws, and for the 2nd straight week, OU ends the game with a Parnell Motley interception. Really, he didn't even need to intercept it. It was 4th down, just slap it down, but he juggled it a little bit, which, you know, gave me like one last little palpitation heart attack. So yeah. Yes, Kenneth Murray, a school record. I think it was a 37-year-old record. For the record was 23 tackles. Murray goes 28 tackles. And here's the crazy thing. Bolton, his teammate, tied what was the school record with 23 tackles. Like, I get it. They're not passing the ball, so your guys playing up close, they're going to get some more action than usual. But good God, you had 2 guys record 22 plus tackles, 23 plus tackles, whatever. Absurd for that. And I liked Murray's response after the game. He's like, when someone asked him about it, he's like, I didn't know what the count was during the game, but it doesn't matter if we don't win. So I like that attitude for sure. OU survives. They're going to move on. The time of possession in this game was over 44 minutes for Army and just over 15 minutes for Oklahoma. That's how you keep OU apparently off the board because, good God, Murray only 11 of 15 for 165 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 costly pick. Sermon, this was, I thought, a really good game for him. Now, it's his 2nd straight week now without Rodney Anderson on the field. He goes 18 carries for 119 yards, 6.6 an average, and he ran angry at times. He broke tackles. Murray goes another 7 attempts for 71 yards and a touchdown. Receiving, very different story. CeeDee Lamb, 4 for 22 and 2 touchdowns. He's the hero for OU, catches the overtime touchdown as well. Calcaterra goes 2 for 47. Lee Morris, 1 for 38. Tees, 1 for 20. I mean, you just have a bunch of things like this. Like, it's a weird game because OU did not put up numbers, but it's because they barely had the ball. And you had a couple options there, or a couple moments there, where they got a little careless. The Murray overthrow and throws a pick at the 15 when they're eating up the field in chunks on their drive. There's no reason to throw that. But, you know, given the trust and rapport he had built up to that point with Marquise Brown, I guess I get it, but still a risky play that you didn't have to make there. So that is what it is. They come out with they're fortunate to get the win. They win by 7 in overtime, and now they're going to have to set up and fix whatever they got to fix because they got to match up with Texas, who's now, I don't know if I want to say peaking at the right time, but who's certainly got their ish together. So now let's move on to the aforementioned Texas Tech whooping of the Oklahoma State Cowboys. The number 15 Oklahoma State Cowboys in Stillwater, no less. This game, I'll admit, to be honest with you, I was surprised. I did not think that Texas Tech was going to be that great this year because really they haven't been that great in the Kingsbury era in general. But sure enough, man, they go into Stillwater and they put a 41-17 thumping on the home team. Bowman, quarterback, 35 of 46, 397, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. The picks isn't great, but even still. Running back Felton, 14 for 130 and 2 touchdowns, 9.3 yards an attempt. That is when Tech is always really dangerous, when they also have a legit running game that they can lean on. Because we already know that they can spread the ball out and they'll beat you with a spread attack. But when you can add in a successful running game like that, you become a nightmare to guard. Just ask West Virginia or years past Oklahoma as well. You got another guy here, Henry, going 11 for 65, 5.9 an average. I really like how many rushing attempts Tech had. Then you got Thompson with 13 attempts for 57, 4.4 a pop and a touchdown. Really, really balanced attack. For the receivers, you got 7 catches for 98 yards from Wesley. High gave you 8 for 79. Austin, 7 for 69. Very, very balanced. So Tech at this point is, what, 3-1, I want to say? I don't know their record. I know they're not ranked at present moment. But, hey, Tech could be a good team. If they have their offense clicking and their defense isn't just abysmal, they can give anyone headaches for sure. For the Oklahoma State side, you got Cornelius, 18 of 38. That's not great, less than 50%. 258, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. Justice Hill, arguably one of the best running backs, if not the best running back in the Big 12 right now. Only 12 rushing attempts. That's way too little for the dude, especially when he's got 111 yards on those 12 attempts. 9.2 a pop, 1 touchdown with a long 37. Hubbard, 4 for 13. That's not great. It does not get much better for them. Now, the receivers do some work. You got Ada Wallace, 7 receptions for 123 yards. And you got from McCleskey, 4 for 52. So, very nice win for Tech. I admit, that was the game. I mean, the OU one was stunning just because I was trying to wrap my head around what they were doing and how they were letting weak Army hold around. I don't want to say weak. Army has like 7 plays they run very well. But they're unranked all the same, and it would have been a monumental upset and an embarrassing loss for OU, even as well as Army played, because that defense just could not get off the field for Oklahoma, and Army ate up just basically entire quarters with every possession, which is something I've never seen done that well. But we'll see. Baylor beats Kansas 26-7. Do you guys really want me to talk about that? It's Kansas. I know they finally won a couple games in a row, but it's Kansas. And it's Baylor, who also hasn't been very great. Not a whole lot. 26-7 at Baylor. Not a lot to talk about there. West Virginia, 35-6 at home versus Kansas State. Kansas State, man, I don't know what to make about Kansas State. They've been all over the map thus far, but nevertheless, a win in the conference is a win in the conference, so you got to take it with something. 35-6, that's a whooping for sure. West Virginia showed me great defense yesterday to go along with the high-powered offense. Watch out, Big 12. I've been right there with you saying that West Virginia is my dark horse to win the Big 12 this year. Everyone was looking at TCU, and everyone, of course, was looking at Oklahoma because Oklahoma's the 3-time repeating champion who's 5th-rated team in the country right now. Surely that's going to fall a bit after this previous performance, but Texas could still be a force. They could still make some noise as well. And then, of course, you got West Virginia, and I think West Virginia is probably the most dangerous one to look out for because I think West Virginia is going to knock off some combination of OU, Texas, and TCU all in short order. I say they win at least 2 of those 3, if not all 3. They could certainly do it. Now, because of when Oklahoma faces off with West Virginia, and I think OU has them later in the season, maybe by then you can't catch them by surprise, because if it's later in the season and they're looking at it and West Virginia's got a nice ranking with them, then maybe it doesn't sneak up on them as much. I think OU got caught a little bit this week looking ahead to next week versus Texas, but you can't do that, man. I don't care who you're playing. Pay-per-view game or not, whether you got a 1/4 of your normal audience or not. You can't do that, man. Tech has the 3rd-ranked offense in the country, and if they have a good defense, they will win. Yeah, they always have. I mean, not always. They haven't in a little bit, but they tend to always have very good offenses. Defense is always the question for Tech. I really like the strides I've seen from them as well. And like I said, if you got the running backs to go with your offense and the quarterback who can sling it around in that system always, then you got something. So yes, if you have a defense, you can certainly challenge anyone. And Tech is capable of tripping someone up. I mean, even, what was it, 2 years ago? Or was it just last year? I think it was 2 years ago when OU had to go to Tech and you had that absurd showdown between Baker Mayfield and Pat Mahomes. I mean, just ridiculous what they can do with that. And they don't have a quarterback of the same pedigree, but they still have a very good system, and they can put up points on anybody, let alone a team whose defense isn't very great, which there's not a lot of that in the Big 12 typically anyway. Greer sits back and picks defenses apart. Yeah, he's been showing great improvement. So let me touch on those stats then from that game. So Greer against Kansas State goes 25 of 35 for 356, 10.2 in average, 5 touchdowns, 2 picks. 2 picks is a little kind of concerning. I mean, I'm not going to knock him much. He got 5 touchdowns, but ball protection needs to be a little bit better, I would say. For the rushing attack, they got from McCoy 12 for 73. Not bad, 6.1 a pop. Sims, the receiver, 5 for 136 and a touchdown. Sills, 10 for 73 with 3 touchdowns. So very, balanced passing attack. The running game doesn't look like it was as on point this week, but the defense looks very good, and you've got the ability with the offense. So even if the offense wasn't clicking on all cylinders, you can still wreck shop for a lot of teams, especially if you've got a good defense, which I haven't seen anything through the first few weeks to tell me West Virginia doesn't have a very good defense. So that's why I've got them as my dark horse to win the Big 12 this year. Meanwhile, Iowa State finally got a win. Granted, it was technically only their third game because they had the first one canceled. They win 26-13 versus Akron. The fact that they let Akron hang around and Akron was the road team, I'm going to say that's going to be, even though OU won last week against them, that's going to be one of those things that doesn't hold up resume-wise very well. Last year, Iowa State knocked off number 3 OU and number 4 TCU within about a 3-week span. I don't know what's going on with them this year. I still think they're very well coached and they've got some real talent, but they're not looking super impressive this year. So that was one of those other kind of trendy toss out there names as far as someone who could contend in the Big 12 this year. And I admit I thought they were going to be better for sure. But let's see. So that's all the action we got for the Big 12. Yeah, this was a statement win for 3 of the big games in the in the Big 12. You have Oklahoma not giving a statement win, but escaping with their life. They're basically, right now, until someone beats them and wins the Big 12, they are king of the mountain in the Big 12. I'll say this, the other teams are pretty much breathing down their neck now as far as their real threat to winning the conference. So you have OU, who escaped with their life. Texas, who had their second straight strong week. Still not looking great to me, but looking like they are making real strides. They've got the athletes. I think they have generally the coaches they need as well. It's just a matter of putting it all together. And if they can get to that next step, they're going to be a monster to be reckoned with as well. Till they do it, though, this is all hypothetical. West Virginia continues to look like a real dark horse. Texas Tech shows it's got something. There's something more to it this year than they've had in recent years. Now, it's still 4 weeks in, so I always hesitate a little bit to anoint anybody. But I will say that I'm impressed with Tech's win, even on its own merit, going to Stillwater and beating the snot out of Oklahoma State. That's a head-turner for me. I mean, that was one of those things where when I saw the score, even before the game was over, I was like, whoa, what's going on here? And I start immediately reading through all the game notes and everything I can find just to try and understand. Like, okay, is it like a turnover fest? Like, what is it? No, just a sound butt whooping. So, I dig it. Anyway, let's see here. How long have I been going? Only about 25 minutes. Thing is, now that you have all these teams facing off within the conference, you have like half as many games to talk about. So, it's going to kind of shorten that. So that's probably going to wrap up my time for this episode of Big 12 Roundup. Guys, let me know if you still like these. I mean, there are some more of you in the chat. I'm encouraged by that. Dexter Green, thank you. Adam Proctor, as always. Kenneth Haynes. Sugar Daddy popping in. Say prime time. What's up? But yeah, if you guys like these, let me know. I'm going to keep doing them. And this is one of those things that it's kind of just like what's the phrase I'm looking for here? Just the third show that I do. In effect, it's like, I don't want to say that I don't put time and preparation into it, but it's not as in-depth as some of the other things I do, because really it's just a solo effort where it's something like, hey, it's the day after the college football games. I like to talk about it and do all that before I got to prep for the Cowboys game later on Sunday. So it's just something kind of fun that I like to do in that regard. And if you guys dig it, I'll keep doing it. If you haven't already, go ahead, please subscribe, share the video, do all that. I want to build this up and make this one of our more premier shows as well, if you guys like it. So that will pretty much wrap up my time for this episode, but I will be back here very shortly doing Mavs Fast Break. So until then, guys, remember, every legend was once a prospect. Salute.